Hello there, this is Carlo. Welcome to a very exciting tutorial. We are going to be looking at some of the brand new features of Cinema 4D R16, which is here. And basically one of the features, which has been long overdue, Cinema 4D has basically got its own camera tracking tool now, which is absolutely great. So instead of you guys having to go to Bougie or After Effects, track your footage, then import into Cinema, you can do everything within Cinema now. So if we look closely at the top here, we have a new tab here called Motion Tracker. So if we select Motion Tracker, if we want to solve a full scene or a full film, we're going to click on that. And obviously I've got a JPEG sequence set up, so this will work with JPEG, TIFF, PNG, all types of video files as well. So, but for this tutorial I'm just using a simple JPEG sequence. So I'm just going to click on the first image and import that scene, and then automatically Cinema is going to start preloading the footage for you. Then it's going to go into a solve. Now the funny thing is, in programs like After Effects or Nuke, the solve's usually the quickest part, but it's actually the opposite. In this program, it actually takes longer to solve than it does to preload. So what I'm going to do is let this do its thing, and after it's done, I'll continue the quick tutorial. Okay, so that is finished solving, as you can see down here, and as soon as it's finished solving, it will automatically bring you to this scene here. Very good thing about Camera Tracker in Cinema 4D is it will add a camera to your scene as well. So if we press play, basically the camera will move in sequence to how the video moves as well, which is fantastic. So a very good start to the track. Now if we come up here to the top right, we've got our camera track with a little plus and minus arrow. If we open this, this is the clever bit. All the items in green are basically the best tracks, okay, and is normally associated with the floor. This is in my experience of what I've learned. Now if we switch our view, we can get a sort of clearer understanding over the top view of where we're basically at. Now each of these auto points is basically one of the tracks in the scene. These represent the tracks in the scene. Okay, so if I was to select a whole lot of these and go back into our other view, we should be able to see what we're basically playing with. So it's very easy to also add tracks to your scene. So if I was to highlight all these, basically everything you can see that the green sticking up is basically our track points, and basically where we can add our images to. So for instance, if I come off this and I select, say for instance, this track here, just here, if I can pinch it, if I select this one here, somewhere in here, in theory, oh, I'll come off it, sorry about that. So we selected this one, somewhere in here, it will show, right here, Auto 18, what we selected. So what we can do is basically we can add something to it, or we can add a motion graph, or we can add our model or our animation to the scene, or we can add any of these sort of things we see here into our scene, which is absolutely fantastic. We can add lights, anything we want. So because it's obviously Auto 18, what we can do is we can create basically, say for instance, I don't know, a cone. and then we can come up to where our cone is. We can grab our cone and we can just drag it down to number 18, or we can sort of drag it to our point itself here, and we could sort of link it to, just make that smaller. And as this cone's here, obviously we can sort of play around with the dimensions of the cone. Let's just bring that there and try and make that like that. Okay, so let's just leave that like that. And let's go to the point we selected, which is, oh, I've just moved my camera. Right, so we've put our camera back. So there's our cone. So now, once we go back into our scene by selecting our camera up the top here, our cone should be in the scene exactly where the point was that we placed in the scene. So as you can see, the cone will stay there very nicely in the scene, and you can basically add whatever you want to this. As you can see, it's still tracked, so it's quite a nice track. Now you will need to sort of tweak it and do your bits and bobs with it, but if you select on the motion track, obviously you can play around with your motion tracker settings with the footage. You can, you know, sort out your solve camera and just make it a bit more detailed or just a bit more correct to what it's doing. But this is basically down here all the keyframes of all the tracking in the actual scene itself. But yeah, quite a decent little track, and obviously a worthy addition to the new Cinema 4D, which is going to basically take a lot of time off your work or your workflow. You know, it's going to save you just basically chopping and changing between, you know, After Effects, Buja, whatever you use as a camera tracker, and just make life basically a little bit more easier, or your workflow a lot more easier to do, basically, if that makes sense. But yeah, as you can see, it's tracked pretty nicely, and this is just a cone basically in the scene. So as you can see, the cone is tracked nice within that scene. So yeah, a very good tracking tool. Obviously I'm still sort of learning the basics around it, but hopefully when I get it to a T, you know, I can do a full-blown tutorial on, you know, how to get an animation tracked within Cinema 4D. Now, next tutorial we're going to be looking at the new keyframe assistant, or the easy keyframe assistant, which is another good feature in R16. And obviously you've got the solo, you've got the bevel tools, which makes your beveling a lot more easier, but they're in the upcoming tutorials that I will do. So I hope you found this helpful. Sorry if I've babbled too much, but as always, thanks for listening. Give this a thumbs up, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you guys.